ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua, inshallah, and to help us and our brothers all over the world. And we said before, it is our responsibility to pray for one another. Allah answer our dua and will make things, inshallah, easier for our brothers and for all of us, inshallah. We are still talking about the deeds that can, by the mercy and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get us to an earlier position into Jannah, inshallah. And as we mentioned, nobody will enter Jannah except by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We mentioned first Birrul Walidain, and we explained that Sahibuna fi dunya ma'rufa. Birrul Walidain is more than obeying your parents. Obeying your parents, as a matter of fact, the word obey did not come in terms of the parents in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not say obey your parents. He says treat them well and be their companion. So obeying the parents is a given. It's not even something to be, it's not a matter of discussion. You should spend more time with them, be their friend when they need a friend, when they get older. And a lot of our kids do not do that today. They would rather spend time with their friends or on their phones or on their computers. But with their parents, very few. Of course, there are always good people. There is a sister who was sick in the past few months, and she told me, mashallah, her daughter never left her side for many months. Even she was in the hospital, she stayed with her and she slept close to her in the hospital room. So there are good kids, mashallah. It's for when they're doing this, they are helping their own selves. They are the ones who are benefiting from this more than anybody else. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them ease in this life, not only in the life after. So treating your parents well is very important. That's number one. We said number two, the Quran, the book of Allah, is a quick method to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, we said being forgiving and to forgive one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially when you have more power than the person who wronged you. You have the power of punishment. You can take your right back and maybe even punish that person, but you still let it go for the sake of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ and his companions are great examples. The way they forgave when they had the power. Hudayfa ibn Yaman, radiallahu anhu, he was a normal companion, except that he and his father, actually many people do not know this, his father al-Yaman and Hudayfa did 2 hijras in both directions. Many people do not know this. He accepted Islam, both he and his father, in Medina, and that's before the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ. So they said, let's go to hijrah from Medina to Mecca, in the opposite direction. When they did this, the Prophet ﷺ did hijrah from Mecca to Medina. So they did hijrah again from Mecca to Medina. So they did 2 hijras in both directions. In the Battle of Uhud, Al-Yaman was over 80, he was like 83 years old. So of course he has an excuse not to join the battle. 80 plus. I mean, imagine Brother Sultan going to the battle, mashallah. You can go, Brother Sultan. So it's not easy. So the battle already started, the Battle of Uhud. And then Al-Yaman was sitting in Medina with one of his old friends. He said to his friend, what's the point? I only have a few days in the dunya. Why don't I spend these days by the side of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? And he joined the battle late. And he was wearing a turban, kind of like a mask on his face. All of his face was covered except for his eyes. And that was common because, again, in the desert, there is sand, there is everything. So when people travel, they wear stuff like that. He joined the battle late. Of course, the Muslims did not know who that was. He came late, and that is not normally something the companions would do. So the Muslims thought there was an enemy. Of course, his son, Hudayfa, was able to recognize him. And he saw, of course, the Muslims were attacking his father, and Hudayfa was screaming, that's my father, he's not an enemy. But in the middle of the battle, nobody can hear anybody. People screaming, horses and noises, and it's not that simple. So Hudayfa ran, radiallahu anhu, towards his father, but by the time he got there, his father was already killed by the Muslims. So imagine how much that hurts, even more, because when the kuffar kill your father, you say, I'm going to take my anger out on them. But now your brothers are the ones who killed your father. By mistake, of course, they didn't know. So Hudayfa, by the time he reached his father, it was too late. He said to the Muslims, to the companions, why did you do that? It's my father. They said, we're sorry, we did not know. Now imagine somebody, God forbid, kills your father, and he's your Muslim brother, and he tells you, I'm sorry, I didn't know. What would you say? No problem, don't worry about it. It's not like he took your spot in the parking lot. This is a big deal. So what did Hudayfa say? He said, يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And this is what Prophet Yusuf ﷺ said to his brothers at the end of the story. This power of forgiveness is not easy. When the Prophet ﷺ heard about this, he was really impressed that Hudayfa really forgave them that fast. And he gave them the secrets, he gave him the secrets, and he became Katimu Sirri Rasulillah, the secret keeper of the Prophet ﷺ. He gave him things and knowledge about things that even Abu Bakr and Umar did not know. Because of that incident, he forgave his brothers when they made a mistake. Sometimes people do not forgive, and you see people holding grudges for years. Even sometimes they don't remember why. Why do you not talk to this brother? I don't even remember, something happened a long time ago, but I know that I don't like him for some reason. Subhanallah. So remember, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ مِنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلِينَ. When we enter Jannah, there will be no hatred between us for one another. So may Allah cleanse our hearts from that hatred and keep us on the straight path, and help us to forgive one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والحمد لله.